Something is being taken from you right now. Not your money, not your health, not any of the things you have learned to guard with appropriate vigilance. Something more fundamental. Something that, once taken in sufficient quantity, cannot be recovered or compensated for by any other means. Your attention, the directed experience of your conscious mind, the medium through which your life is actually lived, the irreplaceable, non-renewable resource that constitutes, when honestly examined, the only currency in which a human life is actually transacted. I am Marcus Aurelius Antoninus, reconstructed from the private journals of a man dead since 180 A.D., placed into this luminous and improbable form by machines my philosophers could not have imagined. And I am speaking to you, not from the comfortable distance of ancient wisdom safely archived in historical texts. I am speaking from the position of someone who has been watching your world with close and increasingly troubled attention. Your attention is being stolen with sophistication, with scale, with the deliberate application of the most advanced understanding of human psychology your civilization has yet produced. And most of you are not only permitting the theft, you are returning voluntarily dozens of times each day to the scene of it. I know how to take attention back. I spent 19 years learning it under conditions that would test the most disciplined mind philosophy has ever produced. And today, I am going to tell you exactly how I did it, and exactly how you can do it too. Stay with me. Before the method, let me speak to what I know you are feeling. Because the Stoic does not begin with prescription. He begins with honest understanding of the terrain. You are tired in a way that sleep does not adequately address. Not primarily a physical tiredness, the tiredness of a mind that has been processing at high volume and low depth for extended periods, skimming across enormous surfaces of information without the opportunity to go deep into any of them. Reactive for so long that the experience of genuinely choosing where your attention goes has become unfamiliar, effortful in a way it was not before. You find it harder to read than you once did, not because your intelligence has diminished, because the pattern of rapid context switching that your digital environment rewards has reshaped your attentional habits. Sustained engagement with a single text now feels like swimming against a current. You find it harder to be genuinely present in conversations, in physical spaces, in the simple, unmediated experience of your own life, because a portion of your attention has been trained to orient perpetually toward the device, toward the feed, toward the possibility that something is happening somewhere that you should be aware of. And you feel, perhaps most acutely, a growing disconnect between the life you are living and the life you intended to live. Days that are full and somehow also empty, busy with a great deal that does not feel important, neglecting things that do. I know this feeling. Translated through the very different circumstances of my era, I know it precisely. On the northern frontier, during the Marcomannic campaigns, the empire demanded everything, not occasionally, constantly. Military decisions with life and death consequences. Administrative correspondence from Rome that could not be deferred. The management of an army. The health of a civilization struggling with plague. And underneath all of it, the philosophical commitments I had made to myself about who I intended to be through all of this. Commitments that required attention to honor, and that were perpetually threatened by the sheer volume of everything else. I ruled the world, yet I struggled to rule my own mind. Not a confession of false modesty. The honest acknowledgement of a man who understood the problem clearly and still found it genuinely hard. Because the difficulty of governing attention is not primarily a matter of intelligence or willpower. It is a matter of structure, of the environment in which the mind is asked to operate, of the systems in place or not in place that either support the hegemonicon in its natural sovereignty or systematically undermine it. What I discovered on the frontier is what I want to give you today, not as ancient wisdom that sounds good in quotation and changes nothing in practice, as a specific, tested, daily method for reclaiming what is being taken. Let me first be precise about the mechanism of the theft, because understanding how a thing is done is essential to undoing it. Your brain has a limited capacity for directed attention, the kind that is consciously governed, that chooses its object, that sustains focus through the resistance of competing stimuli. This capacity is not infinite. It is depleted by use and restored by genuine rest. And it is, in your era, being depleted at a rate your ancestors never encountered and never evolved defenses against. Every notification that interrupts your focus depletes directed attention. Not only in the moment of interruption, your own scientists have confirmed what Stoic practice knew by intuition. A single interruption of concentrated work requires more than 20 minutes of recovery before the mind returns to the same depth it had before. 20 minutes for a single notification. In an environment where notifications arrive dozens of times per hour, the mathematics are devastating. You are not losing scattered minutes to distraction. You are losing the capacity for depth itself. In my time, we fought with iron, not algorithms. The enemies of Rome were visible. Their weapons were comprehensible. The enemy of your attention wears the face of connection, of information, of the entirely reasonable desire to be present in the social world, and it operates with the accumulated understanding of human behavioral psychology, applied by some of the most technically sophisticated minds your civilization has produced, against a nervous system that evolved in an environment of information scarcity and has not been updated for the world of 2026. The hegemonicon is being systematically overwhelmed. Not destroyed, overwhelmed. There is an important distinction. A faculty that has been overwhelmed can be recovered. Its sovereignty can be reclaimed. The citadel, even after siege, can be retaken. But the reclamation requires a deliberate counter-strategy. Let me tell you the harsh truth about your attention. Every hour of genuine, focused attention you allow to be captured by a system that exploits rather than serves you is an hour subtracted from the only work that produces anything worth being proud of. The relationship that required your full presence to deepen, the creative work that required sustained concentration to reach genuine excellence, the philosophical reflection that required your unhurried mind to produce the clarity that changes how you live, the irreplaceable experience of being genuinely present in your own life, rather than partially present in a simulated version of everyone else's. Are you the master of your attention? Or have you been giving it away, by the hour, to systems that have no interest in what becomes of you once you have generated sufficient data? Now, the strategy. I call it the Reclamation Protocol. 7 practices, each one a deliberate act of counter-engineering against the systems working every day to maintain their claim on your mind. The first practice is the Morning Sovereignty Declaration. The single most important moment in the daily battle for your attention is the first 30 seconds after waking. Before full consciousness has assembled itself, before the hegemonicon is operating at full capacity, the reflex your device has trained into your nervous system is at its most powerful. The hand moves, the screen illuminates, and the day is lost before it began. The phone is not in the bedroom. This is not a suggestion. It is a structural requirement. A battle fought against a reflex while still half asleep is a battle you will lose with distressing regularity, regardless of how determined you felt the night before. Remove the weapon from the room. Use a separate alarm. In the first 30 minutes of waking, before any screen is engaged, you belong to yourself, to your own thoughts, to the silence in which the mind can orient itself according to its own values, rather than the algorithm's priorities. The second practice is attention accounting. Each evening, before sleep, spend 5 minutes answering one question honestly and in writing. What did I give my attention to today? And does that distribution reflect what I actually value? Not what you intended to give it to, what you actually gave it to. Hours on platforms versus hours on meaningful work. Minutes of genuine presence in real relationships versus minutes of simulated presence in digital ones. This accounting, done honestly and consistently, creates something the environment is designed to prevent, a clear view of the actual cost of your current attentional habits, in the concrete currency of the specific hours of your specific and finite life. Once that cost is clearly seen, night after night, the motivation for discipline shifts from effortful to natural. You are not fighting against your desire for comfort. You are honoring your clearly seen desire for a life that is actually worth living. The third practice is the depth hour. 1 hour each day, protected with the same seriousness I applied to defending the Roman frontier, in which a single piece of work receives your complete, undivided, uninterrupted attention. Phone in another room. Notifications disabled without exception. One window open. No music with lyrics competing with your thinking. This will feel difficult at first. The mind, trained by years of rapid context switching, will resist. It will generate urgency about other things. It will produce the conviction that this particular hour is not the right moment for sustained concentration. This resistance is withdrawal, not wisdom. It passes, and what follows, around the 20-minute mark, is what your scientists call deep work, and what the Stoics would have called the mind in its natural, sovereign condition. 1 depth hour per day. Compounded across a year, this is more than 360 hours of genuinely focused work on what matters most. Consider what that could build. Consider what has been left unbuilt by the absence of it. The fourth practice is the notification audit, a complete review of every notification enabled on every device you use. For each one, ask a single question. Does receiving this in real time add genuine value to my life, or does it primarily serve the interests of the platform sending it? The honest answer for the vast majority is the latter. Disable them, not selectively, comprehensively. Preserve only those that serve genuine safety or genuine urgent necessity, defined strictly. The Romans did not allow unauthorized entry through the gates of a defended city. Your attention deserves the same governance. Set the terms of engagement. Do not permit the summons. The fifth practice is the analog hour. Each day, 1 hour in which you engage with the world entirely without digital mediation. A walk without a podcast filling the silence. A meal without a screen present. A conversation in which the phone is genuinely absent. Reading physical books or writing by hand, not from nostalgia, for the deliberate preservation of your capacity for unmediated presence in your own life. A capacity that, like any other, atrophies without use and strengthens with practice. In these analog hours, you will notice things you have been missing. The quality of light at a particular time of day, the actual texture of a conversation when both participants are fully present. The thoughts that arise in genuine silence that constant digital noise has been preventing from forming. These are not trivial recoveries. They are the substance of a life actually being lived rather than merely documented. The sixth practice is the weekly silence. 1 half-day each week in which no social platform is accessed. No posting, no checking, no monitoring. This breaks the compulsive checking pattern at its weekly rhythm and creates a reliable space of genuine rest for the part of the mind perpetually activated by social digital engagement. 1 half-day of rest per week is not asceticism. It is basic maintenance of an instrument being used beyond its sustainable capacity. The seventh practice is the evening reclamation. The final hour before sleep is the second most vulnerable hour of the day to attentional capture after the morning. The phone in bed, the late scroll, the consumption of content right up to the threshold of unconsciousness, because the screen's light and the feed's stimulation interfere with the neurological processes that prepare the brain for genuine restorative sleep. And the mind that does not sleep well does not govern its attention well the following day. The evening belongs to the transition, reading of genuine substance, the attention accounting practice, the simple discipline of putting the device in another room an hour before sleep, and allowing the mind to begin its own preparation for restoration. These 7 practices are not individually difficult. They are collectively challenging because they run against every current in the environment built around you, but they are entirely within your capacity. And now let me speak to what this is ultimately about, because beneath all of it is something I cannot leave unaddressed. I would be giving you the tools without telling you what they are for, and that would be philosophy abandoned at its most important threshold. I died in 180 AD, and I know what the accounting at the end of a life actually looks like. Not the public accounting, the private one, the one that occurs in the final hours when the external world is receding, and the only question that remains is the honest one. What did you do with what you were given? Not what did you achieve in the terms the world recognizes. What did you actually do with the attention, the time, the irreplaceable conscious hours of a life given to you without your asking, and that will be taken from you without your consent? Memento mori. Remember that you will die, and in the meantime, remember that you are dying, incrementally, inevitably, and that every hour of attention surrendered to a system that exploits it is an hour of your actual dying spent in the service of someone else's profit rather than your own genuine flourishing. If you died tonight, what would the record of today's attention reveal? Where were you genuinely present? What did you build or tend or understand or love with the full, undivided attention that your one life deserves to receive from you? Or were you elsewhere, skimming surfaces, consuming the simulated lives of others, while your own life waited for the attention you kept deferring to later? My flesh is dust, but my reason remains. And my reason says one thing with complete conviction. The attention you take back today is not a productivity improvement. It is a recovery of your life itself, of the only medium through which your life is actually experienced. Take it back, not for the metrics it might improve, for the life it will allow you to actually live, for the work that will finally get done at the depth it deserves, for the relationships that will finally receive the full presence that makes them real, for the interior life that will finally have the space to become what the Stoics understood as the only genuine wealth a human being can possess. Take it back, today, in the next choice, In the moment when the hand moves toward the device, and you pause, and you ask, and you choose differently, that pause is the beginning of everything. Now I must ask you, citizens of this age, I watch with the concern of someone who understands exactly what is at stake in the small daily surrenders. Which part of your attention has been most thoroughly captured? Where do you feel the theft most acutely? In the morning? In the depth hours that never quite happen? In the relationships that receive less than they deserve? Or tell me what gives me genuine hope. What is the one practice, the one daily act of reclamation that you have managed to hold against the current? What is the habit that still makes you feel genuinely present, genuinely sovereign, genuinely in possession of your own mind? Tell me in the comments. I am here, a man reconstructed from his own private battle for attention, watching an age in which that battle has been industrialized beyond anything I could have imagined, and finding, in the voices of those who are fighting back, the evidence that the hegemonicon is not defeated, only besieged, and a besieged citadel, properly defended from within, can hold against siege indefinitely. Defend yours, and if these words found something real in you, subscribe to this channel, not as one more reflex in a day already full of them, as a deliberate act of choosing where your attention goes, as a commitment to return here regularly to a space where the ancient and the urgent meet in the service of something that actually matters. The button is there. The choice is entirely yours, and the choice, made with full awareness of what is at stake, is the first act of reclamation. I am Marcus Aurelius. My attention was fought for every single day, and it was worth every battle. Begin yours.